when you have a little bit, you actually often are more powerful than someone who has a lot. You gotta think about that. When you have a little bit, when you don't really have a lot, when you don't have really have a whole lot of resources, in certain ways, you're more powerful than someone who has a lot. Now, it sounds counterintuitive. Someone who's got a lot, they can do things that you can't because you don't have it. Yeah, they have that advantage. They have what you don't have. They have resources, whatever it may be. They may have a lot more than you in one thing. They may have a lot more than you in a lot of things. They just flat out have more than you. They've got a lot, and you don't. And in many ways, it feels like that makes them more powerful. But you got to think about this. This shit is deep. Someone who has a little bit has to be more creative. They have to be more strategic. They have to be more fluid. They have to be more fluid. I once heard this old expression, I'm not really sure where it came from. Essentially, it says that you should try to be like water. Meaning, you can be soothing and calming when needed, or you can be violent and destructive and deadly when needed. But you have to be flexible, you have to be fluid, you have to be what is needed and not become locked into a train of thought. So this goes to what I'm saying. Someone who does not have a lot, they cannot rely on whatever advantage they have in resources. So they have to be strategic, they have to be fluid, they have to be creative. And so that allows them a certain speed. It allows them, like I say, flexibility. They can think outside the box. It's not about what worked yesterday. It's not about necessarily what's worked in the past. It's about what's needed right now. Whereas someone who has a lot, it's something about human psychology. It's something about human behavior with numbers. I don't know. But it's something about numbers. When there's huge numbers, when there's an advantage in numbers, we tend to become methodical, less creative. We tend to not value it as much. And I'll get into that a little bit deeper in a moment. So when people have a lot of resources, they tend to become reliant. They tend to lean on, maybe even become slaves to what that abundance is. There's someone who has money, so you would think that they would be happy because they have money, they have a lot of it, but then they become a slave to needing to have a lot of money. They become a slave to what happens if I don't have a lot of money. You might have someone that, like I say, is a millionaire, and so you would think as a millionaire they should be happy. But if something ever happened and they fell off to 200,000, they'd want to end it. They want to take themselves out because, oh my God, how can I live on $200,000? Or take it under that. Someone who's making 100,000. And there's people who think, oh, you should be happy. You know, you're doing pretty decent for yourself. But if they fell down to 60, same thing. You know, so it's relative. When you have resources, it's relative to the advantage that you think you have from it. And now you become a slave to it because what happens if I no longer have that advantage? What will I do if we don't have the most nukes? What does that mean? It means that you have to become creative, is what it means. So it's something about numbers. Even if you think about, like, socially. If one person's got 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion followers, everybody hangs off of every word they say. You know what just tends to happen psychologically? They're going to value each and every one of those followers less. Especially if they're used to those numbers. Those are the numbers that they expect. That's the advantage that they've come to feel like they've earned or inherited. Yeah, thank you, all 1 billion followers of you. I love all 1 billion followers. Like, you know, that's obviously not authentic. It's not real. But at any moment in time, they will use that advantage to boost their value. And so what I'm saying is someone who's got 10 followers, 100 followers, 1,000 followers, and they came from nothing, they do truly value those followers because they remember what it was like to not have them. So they're not relying on them. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like for some people who like maybe didn't grow up with a father, and it's like, oh, what was it like to not have a father? For some people, they're like, you can't miss what you didn't have. So it actually wasn't that bad. So for someone who goes from 0 to 1, first off, just think about this mathematically. That is the biggest increase you can have. It's the greatest accomplishment you actually can ever have, is to go from nothing to something. You should pat yourself on the fucking back. That's an infinite increase. From 0 to something. From an idea to actual in the real world. From a seed, even before a seed, to now something that you can harvest. That is godlike. It's godlike. So what I'm saying is this. Someone to go from 0 to 1, from nothing to something, someone who has little has all the incentive in the world to be creative and to really fight, to really try, even though it feels like the odds are against them because other people have resources. Whereas the people who have resources, it seems like they should win every fight, right? They should, you got all of the resources, right? But because they become lazy, because they become a slave to their advantage and wouldn't know what to do if they no longer had that advantage, then what happens when they don't have that advantage, when they can't use it? They crumble. They fall over. It's easy as shit to knock them out and to take them out, because if they can't use that advantage, they don't know what else to do. They've built everything upon that advantage. So on a certain level, when you can identify someone who relies on one, especially one, maybe one or two, but especially they rely on one pillar of strength, they rely on one advantage, knock that advantage out. Hit that advantage in the fucking balls, take out its knees, and you can scoop them up like, hot butter. Scoop them up like ice cream. It's easy as shit after that. So, with someone who has nothing, that's why you never fight someone who has nothing to lose. What are you going to take from them? The advantage that someone who has a lot has is that they have resources. But what fucks them over, see, this is what you got to understand, people. Some things that are a strength can also be a weakness, or some things that creates a strength creates a weakness. There's no one who's all strength, and there's no one who's all weakness. Don't ever let yourself get twisted into thinking that. There's no one who's all bad and all good. There's no one who's all strong and someone who's all weak. So in that perspective, you got to look at it like this. Someone who's big and bad and feared because they got muscles, if they can't rely on their muscles, they're helpless. Someone who's big and bad because they're fast and quick, if they can't use that mobility, they're helpless. If they rely on that advantage, on that resource, on having a lot of it, when they can't use it, when it's compromised, they're the easiest motherfuckers to defeat. Remember that. But someone who has nothing to lose, you have no idea what they might bring. You have no idea what they might do, because what does it fucking matter? I didn't have shit to begin with. That's why, even on a not personal, but even on a social tip, you'll see some dudes, they got money, they got on the nice clothes, they looking good, they feeling good about themselves externally. They approach the woman and they think the woman's just gonna fall for them because they look like they got it together. And the woman's like, yeah. And the dude who just came in his work clothes ain't necessarily trying to impress. Look all right. Look like he don't necessarily got a whole lot of money, some money, but maybe you can pay for dinner. But that dude approaches like, what do I have to lose? I didn't have you to begin with. So if I don't have you at the end, zero, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. That's for my baby boomers out there. So The fuck? Whereas the person that's like, what I got to lose is my reputation. Well, then you kept your reputation, but you didn't get the girl. You know what I'm saying? You didn't get the situation. So I'm telling you, it's something about numbers. Especially going from little to something versus having a lot and going down to a little. People who have a lot and they go down to a little, like I say, they want to end it. They want to call quits. They want to press reset on life. Jump to the next body. But people who don't have a lot, oh yeah, they struggle. They struggle because they don't have a lot. But in that struggle, they're trying to get more and they're trying to get more. And it's one step forward and two steps back and hassle and this and that and somebody's foot on your neck and a glass ceiling and all of that shit. But those are the smartest, hungriest, most fluid people out there. So do you want... So you got to mix it up. You got to mix it up. I was about to say something that wasn't fluid, but you got to be fluid. You don't want to just fuck around with the people that got resources, because that comes with its conditions. You don't want to just fuck around with people who ain't got shit. That comes with conditions. But you do want to appreciate, on a certain psychological level, human beings, when we have a little bit, we're creative. Think about what the slaves did. Not just the black African-American slaves, almost in any situation. Think about what the people who are deprived of something do and the amazing shit that they do with the little shit that they have. And then you think about many of the lazy, unproductive, wealthy people, not just wealthy, but just, wealthy in money, but just wealthy in resources, wealthy in abundance, who don't really contribute shit, but think somehow that they have. So that's another discussion, but just dropping some more perspective. I was gonna say knowledge, some more perspective. That, like I say, when you can identify, when you can eyeball people who have a little bit, they don't have a lot, unless they are poo but do nothing people, and that's why they don't have a lot. They're actually probably pretty creative. They actually probably have a lot more going on under the surface than you're aware of. They just can't get that shit to grow above the surface and show they are who they are. And the flip side of that is you fuck with some people who've got a lot. When you actually dig a little bit deeper, they ain't fucking with shit. Somebody gave that shit to them. Circumstances put that shit in front of them, and they do what they do with it. But like I say, to everything, to certain weaknesses, there's a strength. To certain strengths, there's a weakness. So we all know, like I say, there's some poo but do nothing people that ain't got nothing, and that's why, they don't do nothing. That's why they ain't got nothing. And yet there's some resourceful, industrious, putting it together, making it happen people who get theirs, and that's why they got a lot. And that's why they can do things. But, you got to peep people out. Either, and definitely not in what they say. It's definitely not in what they say. It's in what they do. You are essentially what you do. So when you peep out people, you can say, oh, I can tell that you don't have a lot. But I wonder what you would do if you did have resources. And there's some people you peep out and you'd be like, oh, yeah, you got it. But what would happen to you if you didn't have it? They'd eat your ass up out here. Anyway, that's real talk right there from your boy Diversified. Check out some of my other content on my 24-hour channel that I got going, getting it going. It's got different type of content on it, but it's still Gen X, Sigma male, entrepreneur perspective from your boy Diversified. It's the Diversified Channel. It's a 24-hour channel. It's at 24hourstreaming.com. Check me out. Instagram, all that other bullshit. But stay up though, I'll holla at you.